Finally, it says now recording.
Now recording.
There we go. All right.
Was that it?
Yeah, we're live now.
We're live.
We're live.
We're alive.
After so long, we're live.
After 10,000 years, I'm free.
Hey everybody, we're back for another episode. We kind of just forgot to record. Was too lazy to record for like a month or two.
I was watching a podcast, or one of my favorite podcasts came back.
Hold on. You don't have to get into it yet. You know, you gotta like butter it up. You yourself.
Butter what up?
You were talking about like warming up before you go in. You know.
Yeah, for the speakers, not for the listeners.
This is also a warm up. You know, you're warming up for the getting into the video.
You know, as soon as they put their headphones on, they're engaged. They're ready to listen to us. It's not like they need us to say, "Oh, how are you guys doing today?"
Shut your mouth hole for 1 minute as I do this. It's just me and Brian today for our comeback episode. Jason, Hassan, everybody else, they're not available. I believe they all joined cults. Not the same cult, different cults, and they're probably going to fall out and get excommunicated. And they'll be back on next episode.
Do you feel like we need to be brand friendly, the way that you introduce us, so that like when we do get sponsored, we would have it at the start of the show?
I don't even care. You know what? I would be if we just totally just didn't even acknowledge there was an audience. I would do that as well.
Yeah, that's the best if you do a live audience show and you never acknowledge the live audience. That would be the irony.
That would not be the irony. That would just be good. You're not. Yeah, just
it would be a performance.
Show complete contempt to your fans. I think that's the way they want it.
Oh, it would be a play, kind of like when you're watching ballet or an opera. Like they don't talk to you, right? They're always talking to each other. As the audience, you're clapping, you're cheering for them. They don't recognize you. They don't say, "Hey, shut up back there," They just go on with their scripts.
Yes, nothing but peasants to them.
Back to what I was saying. One of my favorite podcasts came back, which was Offline TV podcast. And
what is that?
Well, Offline TV, they're like I guess a bunch of Twitch streamers that live under a house, and they do podcasts, which I guess everyone does podcasts nowadays. So that's nothing special. Okay. But what they were saying, I thought that was really interesting. Because the guy I followed, this guy's Toast, he's the one leading the podcast, and I guess they're doing a reboot of their podcast. And what he had said was he found that when you have a podcast of 4 to 5 people, sometimes it's really hard to find topics that are common ground to everyone. And the other issue with more people is that he found is sometimes you don't need to talk, because a lot of topics that 4 or 5 people can talk about can usually be discussed with 2 people, right? And usually when 2 people, you have that back and forth. But when you have 4 to 5, sometimes you're kind of sitting there muted.
I see. So you're openly advocating that we just kill Jason and Hassan.
Well, now they're not here. It's the perfect timing. I would never bring it up if they were here.
It's good they don't listen to this. We've had many 2-man ones. I think I've been on all of them. I'm the only one that hasn't taken a break on this.
Yeah, when you take a break, the show takes a break.
God damn it. You guys just... What the fuck? You guys should just do it without me one of these days. Don't have to wait for me all the time.
But my argument is sound. It's true that, podcasts with 2 people, it's sometimes better than 4 people. Because you can kind of get... Yeah. You can get more in depth into a topic, right? Because when it's just 4 people, sometimes you have to generalize it too much, and sometimes if there's a topic I want to talk about, say AI and chess, it's no one could really talk to me about it.
I think it only works well if you have all of the people interested in the same shit that you're gonna talk about.
Yeah. And like how that's so rare for us. Like for us, maybe Game of Thrones. And even then, like I didn't watch most of it, right? So it was hard for me to
Is this a long
chime in.
is this just a long way of you saying that we should end this entire adventure? We should end it. It's garbage. It doesn't work. No
No,
one
I'm not. I'm,
cares.
I'm not saying we should. Just because there's feedback doesn't mean, or critique doesn't mean what we're doing is wrong or what we're doing is so bad we should give up. I'm just saying that here are some points that that we could like look upon if we want to improve, or some of the things that some people might think like, yeah, I feel like a speaker doesn't speak much because other people are talking over them, right?
So what would be the ideal what would you say would be the perfect number? Just two people or three people?
I do think two people, kind of like the Joe Rogan style, makes sense. Like the way, because for Joe Rogan, it's mostly him and a producer, right? And he's kind of interviewing with someone and they're having that back and forth kind of talk. Like, I do find
Yeah, but
those.
that's like he interviews the guy, you know? Like I don't know if he'll just I guess two people works as well as a duo when they have like
Oh,
have
like
banter and stuff.
guess. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the number isn't too bad. I think it's just you just got to get people to talk about be on the same page when they talk about shit.
I do. Yeah, I'm not saying four people is a bad number. Like, there's a lot of podcasts that has multiple guests or multiple hosts.
Yeah.
Like Rooster Teeth is one. Other like Twitch streamers, they do huge groups. But I do find that sometimes, in a group of four, you can go a long ways not talking. Like,
Mm-hmm. You can have
there's
people
times where
that
like
yeah,
if you and Phil talk, I just like sit quietly, and I could even put myself on mute, play some video games, and you guys would not know.
oh, dude, you're not the one that would be muting most of the time. Most of the time, it'd be like, Jason, that's on mute.
Or there's times where you like call me out for washing dishes. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
you piece of shit. How dare you wash dishes while we record? I hate that.
Well, I want to give the people the same experience as if
Oh,
they
fuck.
were listening to us. Because if I was listening to you talk on a podcast, I would be washing dishes as I'm listening to you. So I just
Fuck
want to make sure that
that.
the audience feel like
No one wants to
I'm
hear
engaged with
that.
them.
No one wants to hear that at all. There's people that would probably go ape shit just for hearing like an echo, or even
Yeah.
just like the piss poor job we do that I do at editing this as well.
Uh,
They definitely don't want to hear your dishes clinking in the background.
the other thing I think the challenge with multiple people is also time. Like it's harder to get four people available at the same time if it's not their job. Whereas two people, you're a lot more flexible, right? You can record out the blue. You can schedule time. It's easier to schedule a date with one person than it is with multiple people. But those are the pros and cons that I'm seeing. Or these are the ones that Toast has mentioned. And I
Hmm.
thought it makes sense. And for him, I think that's what he's done. He kind of got rid of his old format, which was 4 to 5 people,
Yeah,
which was the OTV house, and he just kind of
yeah,
does it with a guest by
yeah.
himself
He
and
just
a producer.
I see. So he just killed off basically all his buddies. He did.
In a sense, but it seems like they weren't invested. It seems like this is more a project for him anyway, so it seems like it kind of works out. And for Toast right now, I think he's kind of in limbo because he's not sure what kind of content he wants to make, and or even content at all. He's
Well,
kind of semi-retired
we're
in some
61
sense.
episodes in and we still don't know what kind of content we're making either.
Well, we're just making sound bites and voice clips.
We're just talking into the internet. Talking,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, just depositing our load onto the internet, our voice load.
I do think it's one day useful. Like, have you seen Black Mirror? There's an episode called BRB, Be Right Back,
No,
and
I have not.
the episode is a couple, newly wed, and the husband left for work and he got into a car crash. He died. He couldn't make it, and the widow was grieving, and someone gave her a phone number to call and this number, uh, you upload data of your whoever you want, and then an AI would take over and then call you and text you and talk to you. So then she starts talking to her husband on the internet, and the AI is like use Facebook and the information, and then it was able to gain the voice of the husband through sound bites, right? So then, and then they start talking voice online, and then she got more intimate with this AI and started uploading the AI into like a Android body kind of thing, and then now she's dating a robot version of her husband and
Gave
stuff like
himself
that.
like a 10-inch penis too.
The sex was better because like he's a robot, so he never gets tired. He can just go on forever kind of thing.
So they did fuck then.
They did, yeah. Oh man, it's Black Mirror.
Oh
They
man.
always go to that side of the story.
Oh God.
Uh,
Cold hard steel was better than any husband I could have.
but what I'm saying is, down the road, if our significant others do miss us and want to hear us, we always have these sound bites that they can always listen to
So that they can
forever and ever.
so they can get a robot to come back.
Yeah, a version of you just ranting about Jeff Bezos and the capitalist world.
This sounds terrible. This this sounds like it needs to be killed. This, if anything, this is an argument to actually kill everything, to kill the show.
Well, how are you with letting go? Um, do you find letting go easy, difficult?
Letting go? What do
Yeah,
you mean letting go?
like let's say it's a children's toy or like uh, you know, a school uniform or something like like personal things.
How
Like
did
how are you
how
at
did
letting go?
how did this get how did this even turn into a thing?
Oh, it's the whole idea of like some people, the reason they want to bring back your dead loved one is because they have trouble letting go.
Of course, I think everybody has trouble letting go of stuff.
Yeah, but some people, everyone is a different degree. Some people mourn longer than others. Some people are quick about it. Some people don't even talk
Oh,
about it. They just kind of.
there's a difference. I thought you meant like in possessions. Yeah, of course. I mean, if someone dies, it's totally different from you trying to let go of like the trash that you've collected, that you put in your attic or something.
Yes, it's different.
Yeah, I mean, they're not the same. So yeah, yeah, people fucking let go. Yeah, for grieving, it'll be completely different. Like maybe, those people that are on like TV that show hoarders, where they just
Mhm.
can't throw away anything. Yeah,
Mhm.
it wouldn't surprise me if they totally are fine at just like at a funeral, like they let go of whoever. Like when grandma dies, who gives a shit? Don't care about grandma, but I do care about all the little fucking trinkets that I picked up from the garbage.
How about like a musical artist? Like let's say Chester C passed away. Do you like start pulling up old Linkin Park albums and start
No,
listening?
no, I'm not. Well, I don't think so. I'm not like that. I listened to a
Ah,
dead guy. I listened to two dead guys for the majority of my high school years. When it was a Biggie and
oh,
Tupac.
you're talking about. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was
they're
thinking of Beethoven and
Beethoven.
like.
Yeah, Beethoven. That would have been the OG. Yeah. No, yeah, that actually would have been more awesome if I just listened to Beethoven than my entire high school year.
You're like, rocking it, and then someone grabs your headphones and like listens to it, and they're like, "What the hell? Why are there all these string quartets?"
Yeah, it's like the Moonlight Sonata.
And you're like, "Yo, man, I was getting to the best part."
I was like headbanging to Moonlight Sonata.
Biggie
No,
and Tupac. I didn't know you were into rap.
long time ago, I would listen to it. Now it's kind of like, you get tired of listening to dead people after a while because they don't come out with new stuff. So,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like just, what? Also, I don't know. Like I don't even know how to explain it. If people ever ask me, there's like, oh, you used to listen to rap, you don't listen to it anymore. I'm just like, yeah, I just don't listen to it anymore. I
How do
just don't.
you feel if they because they've done this with movies apparently, where there's a actor who passed away. I forgot what movie this was, but it was a controversy. An actor passed away, and they took the likeness of them and used deepfakes, right, to bring the actor back, and then use voice clips and stuff,
Well, they did
and
this for
make
like yeah, they did this for like Star Wars for that guy.
yeah. But it was like also like lines that this person never said. They
Oh
were
yeah,
like, and there was things like so like I feel like you could do that in music with like Tupac and stuff, right? Because like I think Tupac they did a
they
concert
do.
with him
Yeah,
where
there's
they
a
did a
hologram.
hologram.
What
There's a
happens?
hologram.
What happens of usually these songs? People just take like the lyrics from his existing songs and they just make new tracks with them.
Yeah. I feel
But
like you could just take the stylistic or even make them sing an original song and just say, yeah, Tupac came up with it.
I
Like,
think
the conspiracy who thinks that Tupac's still alive, they would eat it up.
nobody thinks he's alive.
What?
Anybody that still
There's a conspiracy. There
anybody
was
that still thinks he's alive, like the conspiracy. It was cool to think that he was alive back when I was in high school. People were like,
yeah.
"Oh, he's fucking in Cuba."
Hey,
He's
just because
video.
you gave up the dream doesn't mean others did.
Yeah, no, this is completely talking from me, but yeah, I imagine like fuck who which grown person still believes that this guy is alive? This would
I
be
feel like there's adults that still believe in Santa Claus. There must be
I
someone
I
out there.
feel like they're wasting their lives doing this. And I'm not saying I'm not wasting my life, but I'm wasting my life doing much more satisfying things than trying to
Could you
search for
ever
Tupac.
could you ever be the guy, like let's say someone did devote their life believing in Santa Claus and stuff? Could you ever break it to them? Or do you just feed into their delusion? Because you
Depends.
couldn't
Depends if it's something that like if there's some kind of like mental disability, I leave them alone because I don't know, it might just break them if I
yeah.
just. But if it's just yeah, I would be like, what the fuck? Do you honestly believe that Santa Claus is a real guy, like a fully functional guy, like an
Wait.
adult,
If they're fun okay, but
like fully
okay, so
functional
like
guy?
beautiful, like say beautiful mind.
Yeah.
Like, that beautiful mind, he was seeing people. You wouldn't tell him that the people he's seeing are fake because he was, crazy.
What are you talking about? I would tell him. If I would tell a guy that Santa Claus isn't real, I would totally tell Russell Crowe that
But
yo.
you said the mental thing was he was mental, right?
Yeah,
That
but
was
he
the reason.
wasn't. But he still had his own like faculties, right? Like he was schizophrenic, but it's not like he couldn't
Yeah.
function,
So
right?
this is the topic I wanted to delve deep into.
I
Because
wouldn't be okay. Just to be clear, like
go
if
ahead.
he Russell Crowe's schizophrenic in that movie, right? I wouldn't be like, "The fuck you talking about, man?" These guys. I wouldn't be like an asshole to him, be like, you're fucked. There's nobody there, right? I'd be like, yo, I'd be much more nicer than that than the guy, like a 30-year-old like investment banker who's whatever the fuck, and he's like, "Oh, I think Santa Claus is real."
The big
I would
reveal.
tell, yeah, I'd
Yeah.
be like, "What the fuck you talking about? You handle people's money? You think fucking Santa Claus is real? Are you insane?"
It's like I donate most of my clients' money into Old Saint Nick.
Yeah, he's like yeah, he's like my one of my go-to funds is all like Christmas related funds. The Christmas index of the New
I
York
did like
Stock
I did
Exchange.
like Santa Claus when his address or postal code is like OHOHOH. I thought that was the best. Oh,
You have to there has to be somebody with that postal code. There has to be like an actual
OHOHOH.
one. Yeah,
Yeah,
some
probably.
cabin somewhere in like northern like
They're
Canada or
just getting
whatever.
all these like letters from
Yeah.
children asking him for stuff, and he's
Yeah,
like,
and
"Fuck it."
he hates mail and he hates kids. Fuck.
Okay, so there's I was watching this video about mathematics, but I'm not gonna go into detail because I was trying to explain it to my friend and realized it's really difficult to explain, and the concept didn't really make sense. But anyways, this whole idea of mathematics was back in the day. Um, Mathematicians they were raving how great mathematics was, how they can prove certain things in physics and properties and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And um,
I'm getting hyped for
there were
this
these
math talk. I'm trying to
there were
hype
these
myself for this.
criteria of math that they felt like was the holy Bible of math.
Uh-huh.
The three criteria was completeness, consistency, and decidability.
Hmm.
So completeness means for every theorem that is true, there's a proof for it. Like anything that, so like, Pythagoras theorem, like the distance, like let's say the length of a hypotenuse is a squared plus b squared equals c squared kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you can like prove that, all that
Yeah,
stuff,
you have to
right?
be able to prove that. I see. Yeah.
So, and then consistency is kind of like a plus b equals b plus a. So like 6 plus 9 is the same as 9 plus 6. Like you can go backwards and forwards, things like that. And decidability is knowing if something has an answer or not, kind of thing. So like if like in high school, like you do like these limits and stuff, and then you'll be like, oh, it approaches infinity, or it approaches a number like 1 or some things like that. And there's always an answer for that. Basically, the completeness was the one that I thought was interesting, where a mathematician, Goodall, he liked these word problems. For example, word problems that have like self-referencing and have contradiction. So like in the show Office, Dwight was saying like, Jim is my enemy, but Jim's worst enemy is himself, and the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Therefore, Jim is my friend. But because Jim's worst enemy is himself, the friend of my enemy is my enemy, and then he goes circular, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, this whole wording of words, he felt like that applies to math too, because like, what if you wrote an equation kind of referencing itself? Like say, this equation cannot be proven true, and then you say, and you wrote an equation that proved it's true, right? Then that couldn't exist, right? So, and he found a way to manipulate words into numbers, which he called them Gödel numbers, where he was able to prove that, hey, math is not complete kind of thing, right? And what's significant about that is that people who are working on math problems, so say like, are there infinite number of prime numbers, or are there infinite twin prime numbers? Twin prime number is 2 primes are off by 1. So like 7 and 5, they're off by 1, like, right? And is there an infinite number of them? Like, for right now, we have no idea. Like, but the thing is, you could be working on these math problems, and if what Goodall find is true, that math is not a complete system, you could never prove what you're doing. It's provable. So you could find something that's true in mathematics, but could never prove it to be true, right?
Holy
and
fuck. Yes. No, I don't
so
know.
So basically what I'm saying is like, if you know something is true, but you can't prove it, that's what math is trying to say, that it's a system, it's not a complete system, but it's still a good system. But the thing is that there can be some statements in mathematics that's true that we can't prove it to be true. And what I thought was interesting about that is for people who are crazy, right? Because like, if you were crazy, right, you could never prove to yourself if you're crazy or not. Like because your own system, like how you think, how you reason, the tools are never enough to prove to yourself if you're crazy or not, right? Like for someone to tell you something you're not right, or what you're seeing aren't fair, you need an external force to tell you that. But like internally, your whole system of yourself can't prove to yourself if you're crazy or not. That's what I got out of it.
You know what? It's like one of those things where someone rambles on for the entire time for like 5 minutes straight, 10 minutes straight, and then if it was like a comedian, you're thinking, oh man, this joke payoff, the punchline is going to be insane. It has to be, otherwise, why would they build it up this much just for it to bomb? And each time you say these things, I have to keep on reminding myself that there is no payoff.
Wait, that is the payoff though.
There's nothing at the end.
Well, that's the payoff. Like, when you get emails saying like, "Hey, I love your show, blah blah blah. I agree with what you're saying, but I feel like there's this conspiracy, and I'm the only one that knows the answer to this, and da da da. And I've done this research, and no one can see it. Like, how do you tell these people they're crazy? Like, to me, they exhibit these crazy ideas, right? But like to themselves, they don't seem crazy. They seem like they're reasonable,
Yeah,
right?
buddy. Crazy is even, you know what? Maybe it's even just like more relative than anything. What if the crazy people had all the power in society? You'd be the crazy one for them. Everything they
Right.
do would be normal. You'd be the crazy one.
Well, it's kind of like the Matrix. Like if you're in the Matrix, there's no way for you to prove to yourself you're in the Matrix. You need someone external to pull you out. You need someone external to say, "Hey, something is wrong," right? Like so mathematics, right? That's the whole idea. Like it itself can never prove to itself everything to be true. You need something to look like you need like an external thing from the system to point out if something can be true or not, right?
Okay, so you need like a Morpheus to come in and what?
Yeah,
Help
potentially.
math be math.
Well, the math thing was just an analogy, and not
Give
maybe
math
it's not a good analogy or not.
the red pill.
The math is just an analogy. What I'm saying is that, for us, when we like, because we feel like we're the captain of our own ship, right? Like I'm moving my body, the decision I'm making is all solely to me. But in reality, a lot of what happens to us is not in our control, right? Like,
Yeah, you know what it is. A lot of people are exactly as how you describe it, where they won't know that they're being fucking stupid or crazy, and contrary to a Morpheus coming in to tell them that they're crazy, they won't ever accept it. You'll have people like the people that deny that everything about like the virus and shit, like coronavirus and anti-vaxxers, flat earthers. Even if Morpheus came and took them, took a flat earther, and he's like, "I'll show you that this is all real or whatever." It's like the
mhm.
world is round. They wouldn't believe it. In fact, they would probably believe the other way. They'd be like, "No, Morpheus would come if this is the Matrix. Morpheus would come and show us that the world is flat and everything is a simulation. The world being round
so
is a
so
simulation."
that one's interesting because like we knew the Earth was round long before like Christopher Columbus and stuff, right? Sailing the ocean.
Yeah.
Like there was one famous study which was the sun and the well, where uh, there was a certain well at a certain city. I can't remember where, but when the sun was directly above it, you could see straight down. Like the sun would beam, the light could reach the bottom of the well, and you could see like at the very bottom of the well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you suppose the Earth was flat, you would expect that to happen to all the wells, right? Because the lights are, all parallel, right? So like you
Well,
would be able to see all the wells straight down, but that was never the case. Like the one well that you could see straight down,
they probably
you could
think. Well, they probably think there's the land, the Earth is just this strip, and the sun rotates around this flat strip of land.
yeah, but
They'll
like
say it
the
like
sun is
that.
so far away, so all lights are coming like straight down like rain, right? It's just falling, right? So you would expect all the wells to be lit, but they weren't.
No,
Only the one,
you don't
right?
get it, man. I I really
You're
think you
you're
can
fighting
find.
for the
I
flat
really think you
earthers.
can find people that'll be like, no, man. The sun goes down, it's at the bottom of the earth,
Well,
the
but
bottom
it's
side of the flat earth, and then it comes back up again, and then you can see it on our side of the flat earth, and then it goes back down, and it's the bottom side of the flat earth.
but I think that's what's interesting is we figure out the Earth isn't flat because of external objects like the sun, things that are outside of the Earth system, right? We needed help. We needed guidance from outside. Like you could never find if the Earth is flat or not if it
Fuck,
was just purely its own.
I don't
If you
know,
were
man.
in the bottom, it's kind of like the fish in the water, right? Fish was probably not the first organism to discover water because they live in it. They don't know what water is. You would have to have like a mammal say, "Hey, you're swimming in water."
Yeah, I see your point. It's not really a like I don't see it as more of an external internal thing. It's always just something that you're just taking in more new information. You're expanding the circle, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So the more you learn, the more you experience, the more you'll be better off than the frog in the well. Fuck it. I don't know.
yeah.
I
There's
guess you're
also the
right.
frog
Yeah.
in the well.
I mean, like Yeah, I don't know what was the moral of the takeaway from this is what is Morpheus is the
Well, the
Morpheus is
takeaway is,
our what our willingness to experience
well,
good things.
I think the takeaway is this: like in mathematics, some things can be true but not be proven, and in life, you can't prove to yourself if you're right or wrong, like, or if you're crazy. Sorry, I should say. Like you can't tell yourself if you're crazy or not because nothing in your own system can tell you that.
I think you can tell if you're crazy. I think there's ways of doing it. Like
How?
you're just assuming everybody thinks that they're totally fine. Russell Crowe in the end, he realized he was fucking. He
Yeah,
had
but he had
schizophrenia.
someone tell him. Like, what if he was in what if that movie became a Truman Show
He
where these people actually was alive, but everyone was actors
No, but in the end,
telling
it
him.
was him that needed to figure it out, right? Like he wouldn't know. It was him that figured out who was real and who wasn't real.
Oh, about the aging thing, maybe.
Yeah,
Like, I
exactly.
guess maybe to that realization.
And he well, so I'm just saying like he could have figured it out like after a while when just shit's not lining up. Like if it was the Matrix, it would be like, oh, you walk home and shit just starts glitching out, and you'd be like, oh, this is not right. This is what the hell's
I
going
feel
on?
like you need that catalyst, though. You need that put. Like, I feel like, because, like, let's say addicts
Well, that would
or
be the
people.
thing. Well, that would be a thing. Like it's just like
Mhm.
a guy that has like a problem sleepwalking or whatever, and then they always find
Yeah.
himself, not in the place where he was sleeping. You don't need anybody else to tell you that that you had that you had a problem. You were sleepwalking. That's why you're not like in the same place where you fell asleep. You can
I
figure it
feel
out
like
yourself.
people are always defensive. Like, let's say you're sleepwalking, you end up somewhere you're not supposed to, and someone's like, "What are you doing here?" And then you're like confused and dazed, and you look at them, and you're like, "I live here." Like, you already have a defense answer for them, right?
That
Even though
would
you had no
I
idea
think
how
that
you
would be
got there.
more like the guy's personality if they're like scared of admitting if they're gonna sleep like to them, but just the general point still stands. Like they could probably figure out that oh shit, there's something wrong with
Like,
me. Like you don't need
I
someone else to tell you that you're crazy. Like you could be like, yeah, this is not good. There's something wrong with me with in regards to that. Like I'm crazy. I think you can. There's some people that can figure out they're crazy. I don't think it's that absolute. And there's
really? How about like drunk? Let's say, okay, let's say drunk. Do you know if you're drunk? Like, some
this
people,
stuff is more human nature than just being like, oh, this is like a hard rule that you can't figure this shit out yourself. You need other people to tell you figure it out yourself.
Mhm.
I mean, like if you're getting drunk all the time, yeah, like they make everybody's. I don't know. In society, people like to kind of make a big deal. Like they'll slap on a defining tag on you. Like now you've crossed the line and you're an alcoholic, like officially or something like that. I think
yeah,
people deep down, like they kind of know that they're fucked up or whatever. Like they're just they're shit faced wasted all the time. They can't keep it together.
yeah.
I think it's just even if you and then these are the same people like oh if you call them an alcoholic anyways they'll just dismiss it. It's just because they're like you said it's in their personality. They're very defensive. They're very self.
Yeah.
They're very like sensitive towards that shit.
Actually, I thought it was funny because my friend, she never drinks alone. And one of the thing, I guess, for her idea was that if I drink alone, I would look like an alcoholic. So she always drinks socially. Like she would never drink by herself.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying what
Mhm.
I'm saying is that
Yeah.
you can if you could there's ways you could probably tell that you're crazy. If you're totally fucking
Really?
gone, then maybe not. If you can't even have like
I feel like you would
agency to
reason
yourself.
it. Because human beings were so good at reasoning. We were so good at reasoning to ourselves. Like, let's say you did an action, like you murder someone, you would start telling yourself, this person deserves it.
Yeah, you would
I was
reason it.
self-defense.
Yeah, you
You
can
would
reason
reason
it
it,
for
right?
yourself, but in the end, you'll have people. A sizable amount of people that'll be like, yeah, I did murder them. I gotta.
But that's the external part. Someone witnessed it and said, this is not right. What you did is wrong, blah, 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 right?
I think you're
But like,
just looking at fucking hard rules when they aren't any. I mean, like, you have people that will realize that they're crazy, and you have people that won't realize that they're crazy. I mean, it's just
yeah.
as simple as that, right? You don't have to. You don't have to like all of a sudden just
Okay, so
artificially separate and be like, no, no, that's not true
how
because
can we prove that? How can we prove that? How
you
can we
don't have
prove
to.
there are
Wasn't
people
that her
that
whole
exist
spiel
that
with like math? It's like, okay, even with math, which is so proof heavy of a discipline, uh,
yes.
there are some things that you can't prove. That was the whole fucking shtick of that, isn't it?
Fine, fine, fine. Okay, so you're saying that there can exist someone who can prove their own insanity or sanity,
Yeah,
but
you'll have
we may never be able to prove that that's the case.
no, you can prove it. You'll have tons of people that go like, you know what, I do have a problem. I need to go deal with this. It's a psychological problem, drinking problem. They'll figure it out. They'll come to the epiphany themselves, right?
Uh,
They'll have maybe you have people tell them all the time, "Oh, you have a problem." No, fuck you. I don't have a problem. And then one day they really royally fuck up. And they're like, "Okay, you know what? I have a problem. I, or I'm insane, right? I need help."
yeah.
It's something
Well,
like
like,
that.
and that's challenging too, because like, let's say we turn the world around. Let's say you're Leonardo da Vinci, and you're discovering planets and stuff, and you're telling people, we are not the center of the earth, and everyone is saying that's blasphemy, and that there's so many literature that says we are the center of the earth or center of the universe. Sorry.
Yeah, that wasn't that like Galileo? I don't think that was Da Vinci, but
Oh, sorry, Galileo. Yeah, it's one of those guys,
who
right?
cares, right? Who cares?
They're all.
Yeah, okay,
But
yeah. So
anyways,
you're
yeah,
like that guy, and then they're like, and everybody else is telling you, no, you're wrong. Like the whole church, the
yeah.
whole society that's built up.
Like,
Like,
how do
no, you're
you
fucking
feel
wrong.
like you're crazy at that point, or I wonder, like,
No, no, because that guy, no, it's very no. It's like what we have right now. Like you'll have people be like, oh, this everything is shit, and then maybe you'll have a whole society be like, no, it's not everything. Everything is perfect, but you know that everything's shit. And then I'm not gonna be. It's like with me that if I'm the person that's saying, well, not if I am the person that's saying shit is going down into the toilet,
yeah,
um, and somebody tells me, or like fucking people, like our elected officials or the news is whoever is telling me everything's fucking fine and hunky dory. I'm not like, oh, am I the one that's crazy? I'm like, well, no, like these guys are just fucking putting their heads in the sand, and that comes from, well, that comes from at the first time you do ask yourself like, could I be wrong? Right? Well, I could be wrong. They could be wrong. Well, let's just look at what's available to me. Like, let's look at what's real, right? And if you've come like with Galileo, he's like, yeah, there's no fucking way that the sun revolves around the earth. At that
Mhm.
point, he was like, yeah, like I've noticed this. I've done the work. Like you guys are wrong. I'm the one that's actually right. You guys are just fucking holding on. And he can reason it out because he'll know exactly. Well, what helps would he would know exactly why the church or whoever at the time thinks everything revolves around the sun, right? I mean, it revolves around the earth, right? It's all very God
Mhm.
centric. Like, yeah, this is if God created the earth, yeah, of course everything for them, everything has to revolve around it. It's in their vested interest. But me, I saw it through a telescope. Nothing, none of that shit revolves around us. So even if they all said it, he's probably saying, well, fuck, am I crazy? No, these guys are crazy. I'm the one that's not crazy.
I feel like that's what a conspiracy would say. Like, let's say you're an
That's definitely what they
anti-vaxxer.
believe. Oh yeah, that's why they can't
They
like
would they would believe like they were the Galileo, they were the Teslas,
yeah, like
they
yeah,
were
everyone else is crazy. But you know what?
yeah.
That I always say that that is just from a severe lack of practice in basically just analysis. Like literally just I'm not even talking about like material analysis. Just a little bit of comprehension. Like why would if you just ask yourself why would they do this? Like the flat earthers because there's just such an
Mhm.
easy target. They're like, yeah, NASA's faking all of this. Why? Right? Why? Why the fuck would
What
they
is
do
the
this?
incentives? Yeah.
Yo,
I
the
mean
incentive
Tesla
is because
Tesla
of money, and they want to fake it so then they can keep the money for themselves and keep us all in fear like sheeple. So then we will be more compliant. And then it'd be like, why? Still, why? They can do if they wanted to be like that. They can do it a whole different way than trying to maintain this conspiracy that the world is round. Why? The chemtrails. Why? Right? Fucking.
it's the whole reasoning thing, yeah. There's
They're
there's
very
always an
weak.
answer.
They're very weak at just answering the why part. Yeah, they they have to they have to like file down their brains just if you ask them why, you know. So it's not like they can think they're fucking Galileo all they want. They're just crazy.
So, final question: do you think you're crazy?
I think I'm crazy. Of course, I think I'm crazy. Everybody's crazy. I think normal is just, you know what? I actually think normal is BS. Like, you know, um, like this is right now in society is like they have a very set like norm of what is normal, like what is normal, what isn't normal. I was reading the other day that they could like the psychiatrists, some of them were saying like, you know, if a person like just even grieves for too long, that could
Hmm.
be something like you could put that down as something. Oh, this may be like mental distress. This is it could be noted down as something that, you know, it's not, it won't be normal or whatever, you know. And I just feel like I feel, you know, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, so everything I say is just literally my own bullshit opinion. But I mean,
Hmm.
I just think there's a lot of problems and contradictions that arise when you try to standardize how everybody is supposed to, what normal is supposed to be for everybody. When like fucking nobody's fucking normal. I feel like just nobody is just normal at all. And then, you know, like, and then you say no, there is a set criteria for being normal, and if you're not this, then you're you're not normal. And then you have a bunch of people, like so many people just, especially kids, they can't like figure out shit, right? They have so much, like, a lot of them probably have so much trouble just like, just for that, even that stupid question like, who am I need to discover myself, right?
Hmm.
And it's just like, well, I just think that this why do they even have to come up with this like a normal criteria? Like, what if the criteria was like, yo, everybody's fucking insane, like everybody will just be fucking weird. Like if that was the thing, I think a lot of people
Hmm.
would be much more at peace with themselves. Be like, yeah, I'm weird. I like weird things. I do weird things. You know, as long as I don't fucking become a serial killer, you know, that's the bar, right? You just can't fucking go around and like start harming people, but you set the
I
bar
think.
that low, right?
Mhm.
I mean, like, oh, you don't sleep, yeah, like, oh, you don't sleep at the normal hours, you're an insomniac or whatever, right? Here's some
Mhm.
medication to help you with that. You know, like, oh, what, well, you don't handle grief that well, you don't handle anger that well, you don't handle, like, what, you're very self conscious, you're too not self conscious enough, you know, like,
Well, sorry, in terms of sleeping, I think biologically we are designed to operate better in the daytime than we are at nighttime.
sure, the majority of people would probably sleep at night and rise during the day, but there's still quite a substantial amount that won't, or who cares? They'll sleep at all odd hours of the day. But that's not
Yeah,
even like a big deal. Like what I'm saying is, you know, everybody has such different
you're
personalities.
yeah. There's you're talking about like the correctness or how the way of life should be, where there's a big range of what's acceptable and what's crazy is like very like you have to be really far in the what do you call in the outliers to be considered crazy. Like a lot of things can be considered normal, and there's a big range of it.
Yeah, no, I would. Yeah, that's what I would say. I would say, you know, expand that net. I would say, make that bar
Because
pretty low. Like, you know,
actually, what's funny because I heard this with young parents because I recently visited my friends who had newborns,
mhm.
and one of them was like kind of like what like preppy in a sense. She was like you know measuring the weight of her baby, recording what color poop it is to tell the doctor kind of thing.
Yeah,
And then my other friend, he's a little bit more casual, and he said he did that in the first like 1 or 2 days.
yeah,
Then he's just like, I got really tired of it, and I would forget, and then they just scrapped it, and he realized that your baby is healthy, like what a healthy baby is. There's such a huge range that as long as you're not seeing blood or black kind of things like that, like certain colors,
yeah,
then
exactly.
you're probably your baby's probably fine.
Yeah, but it's
And I thought,
understandable. Like you're a new parent, you don't know this shit. All this shit kind of freaks you out because this is the first time. You don't know what you're looking at. So like, I imagine myself, I'd be like that too.
I
Uh,
heard what is it? Maid or not maids? There's a term for them. Housewives.
yeah.
They are really good. Housewives are good to have because they are with you during the whole process.
Oh,
They like
midwife.
a midwife. Yeah, not housewife.
Housewife.
Midwife. Yes.
Yeah, fuck yeah, housewives are good.
Midwives, they're great. They're great for like the sensei to teach you how to handle babies. And like my friend was talking how his midwife was so great. Like he was like tossing, juggling babies around and like flinging them and stuff. And he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna learn like that." Like I guess he wanted to treat his daughter not like a porcelain doll, but like almost like a football. Like you just
Yeah.
mess around and stuff. And I thought, yeah, that's probably the best way to. Or I really like that style. Like you're not so like uptight and stuff.
Yeah, as long as you don't fucking drop the baby on the floor and crack its skull, you'll
Well,
be
in
fine.
football, you're never allowed to drop the football, right?
Yeah,
Like
but if you
even
drop
in
a football,
football.
all that will happen is like you fumble. You drop a baby, you're fucking gonna kill it. The stakes are much higher than football ever will be.
I I would say some football players at like, what is it? Super Bowl, they would differ. They would be like, I'm never dropping this football.
Yeah,
This is my
who gives a
life.
shit about them? Like you replace that football with a baby, like everything is different.
I would say that's inhumane if we play football with babies.
Yeah, no, the
We need
stakes are
another
not high
toddler
enough.
tossing toddlers around.
I'll tell you what I have noticed, and it was just going back to that thing where like some people will think that they're in the right and they're not crazy, when in fact they may be completely fucking batshit insane and they are completely not right. And I feel like this is just society. I feel like just like the people around me, not like friends and shit, but like just the people that you see every day in the news or just like protesting or anybody on TV, just like politicians, um, fucking just a whole shit ton of people. Like I feel like this pandemic, which is now ever since we've been recorded, this is more than a year now, right? Like you get to see
Yeah, it's been more than a year, but it doesn't feel like it anymore. It's
you get to
like
see like this is putting the pressure on people, and you see everybody's just fucking. If you were a kid and you thought like, oh, adults must be sensible and have it together, and then you realize as an adult, no, that's complete bullshit. Nobody has it. Not a lot of people have it together. Like everybody is just fucking bullshit. Uh, and I feel like every society right now, for me, I just envision it's just a bunch of fucking crazy ass motherfuckers that are just walking around that just make up everything. Like this, there's no like there's not really like if you think when you're a kid and you're thinking, oh, that person's an adult, he has to be right about something. Turns out, actually, no, everybody's fucking idiots, and no
I
adult
feel
is
like
right
it
about
really
something.
depends on your parent because there are some parents like if they're immigrants and let's say you're a child who was born knowing English or learn English because your parents will always ask you, can you translate this? That you would kind of feel like you have a little bit more um like independence because you're kind of controlling the how flow of conversation works and stuff. And in some ways you kind of know like your parents doesn't know everything and that you don't sometimes you even rebel at a young age. But for teachers, I think you would kind of view them as the knowing kind of characters.
I
And it takes a while before you realize teachers are just
yeah, everybody's flawed. They can have make mistakes, and
yeah,
usually, like the teachers, like usually they should be right about what they teach. But since they're everybody's human beings, they can be wrong just like human beings are.
yeah.
And I mean, to what that point, like I find that usually the parents that were demanding to their child obey them, just having that personality where they do think they are absolutely correct about everything. Whatever they do is the right way to do it, and they
Yeah.
demand that everyone else follows that. They just have they just give like really shitty experiences to their kids. I feel like the parents
Yeah.
that like immigrant parents, I don't like wholesale say is the same. I feel like the parents that give more leeway and give let the kids make mistakes and also let the kids know that like the parents can be wrong. Like
Yeah.
like I may make mistakes. They give off a much better, like a more healthier uh experience, I guess, for the kids that they raise. And the reason why I don't
I,
really group the
mhm,
immigrant, like non-English, like non-main language speaking immigrants to like another country in
mhm,
there is because a lot of times you can find asshole parents in that group too, right? It's only that
true.
you get that experience. You only get that like sort of experience where yeah, they're the one thing that they're not good at. You may be good at. You may know English or whatever language is the majority in whatever country you immigrated to, and then you can
Mhm,
sort of see that there's this dependency that that and there's like this responsibility that you got to take up, and you realize that hey, this is actually much more broadly applicable to kind of life as well, where
mhm,
basically everybody that lives around you is more or less dependent to some degree to everyone else, right? And you
mhm.
kind of learn that.
We
You
are
learn
not
that,
islands.
yeah, you learn that as a kid. Hopefully, if like by life experiences, not just parents, but parents and life experiences. If you don't, you become that asshole that I talk about. The majority of people in this fucking country, on this continent in North America, where it's just so selfish and individualist and just thinking like fucking, just thinking in with a mind that everything's like a rat race and you fucking gotta get yours. Fuck
Yeah.
everything else. And that fundamentally that's why we're like fucking up on everything. Literally everything. We're
I
like
feel like that's a Jordan Peterson view because he was talking about like there are some men that devote their lives to careers and will work 80 hours all the time. And there are others that will, clock in 40 hours and then when they're done, they go home kind of thing. And that the men who devote their lives to career, they're the ones running things because they're, so engaged to work kind of thing. Like they devoted everything that they're the one that's, you know, making the project
let's just make
run.
this we should make this episode on one that just shits on Jordan Peterson. Oh my god, I have so much fucking this guy is okay. Like
So
aside
why
from
why is he popular, I guess? Is it because of what he's saying has that allure of like, yeah,
it has
I
that
do
allure.
feel like he's right.
Definitely, when you have a bunch of fucking morons that want to find some authority figure for them to cling on to, they find
Yeah.
people like Jordan Peterson, where he says absolute moronic things, but they cling to him because he says it in a very articulate way, even though it's
Yeah.
complete horseshit. Especially about like, I'm not talking about his like psychology discipline. He could be very well like a very competent psychologist or
He
psychologist.
is a professor.
He wrote books on that, but
Mhm.
like he's professionally in that field, and he should know what he's talking about in that field. No one would fucking say shit about him about that. But what he got famous for was just something that he's not good at. And this is what his fans don't realize. He's not good at what they want. They are idolizing him as. And what they're idolizing him as is like an ideologue, as this political commentator that's making his observations and his little shitty takes about society, politics, history, even economics, and
He
all that.
does, yeah, because I think there was a lady saying how um what was it, the inequality of men and women, and then he was saying like like you're talking about a subset of men who are ultra successful, but like men takes up majority of like depression or alcoholics or more men are incarcerated or something like that.
Yeah, I
Like that
mean,
was
like
his
this is
argument.
he just fucking tries to hit low hanging fruit, right? I mean, okay, he
Hmm.
got famous because the first thing that he got famous for was, remember he was like fucking making he was shitting on some like students that wanted, that accused him of not saying pronouns or some shit or whatever, right?
Oh yeah.
Which is
Pronouns,
like
yeah.
like what that got what kind of attracted people to that was that this is kind of an annoying thing sometimes when you have people that are a little too anal about that shit.
Yeah.
Of course you can be like, hey, I don't know shit. So take it slow with me or whatever. Like I'm not trying to offend anybody, but this
Yeah.
is everybody will
I do
have
agree.
different.
I do agree that when you have pronouns, it simplifies things. But I also understand that when you simplify things too much, you kind of lose that nuance, and then people start grouping you
The
into
problem was
things that
some
you feel
people.
like you're not supposed to group them.
Yeah, yeah. So the problem was some people were just way too militant about this, right? So some people would, that would turn off some people. What Peterson did was he had a video where he was like confronting them, and he was like, "Oh, why
Yeah,
should I do this? Why did I do that?" So he
you
shot the
just make
fame just
things
from
make
that.
you make your life worse if you
They shot
are
the fame.
using different pronouns.
He shot
Hmm.
the fame from that because people be like, "Yeah, why do I have to listen to all these fucking SJWs or watch this professor from the University of Toronto just owns them in this
Yeah.
fucking in the marketplace of ideas or
So
some
when you
shit?"
say he's not good at it,
Because
why do you say he's not good at it? Because it
so
sounds like he
not
does draw a crowd.
oh yeah,
He
he
does
draws a
have
crowd,
followers.
of course, but you don't need to.
Isn't that what you want?
Well, no, like okay, no, that's not that doesn't mean like you're good at something. You just draw a crowd because you're saying shit that a large group of people want to hear, right?
Okay.
Fucking Trump
Right.
drew a crowd, but it doesn't mean that he
Yeah.
was like fucking absolutely correct in how he even got them, right?
I would
But
say he's good at getting elected. But anyways, go ahead.
yeah, but he wouldn't be good at like fucking being whatever he wanted to be, like
Running a
running a
country, maybe
country.
not.
Yeah, exactly, right? But but the Peterson thing is he got famous from that, but then from that fame he grabbed it and just used that as a platform to just spout this horse shit. Like he's a psychiatrist in training, right?
Mhm.
As a profession, he's a psychiatrist or a psychologist, right?
I think maybe a
Yeah,
psychologist, right?
right. So
Anyways, go ahead.
he's in the field of psychology, and then he gave these lectures now that he's famous about like history, about ideological, like politics, right?
Yeah.
Ideology, basically sociology and a little bit of political economy, and you can tell right from that guy he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And then he had to prepare himself from with a debate on in regards to like socialism with like this other guy,
Yeah.
Slavoj Žižek, which is just he looks like a fucking homeless crackhead, right? But to prepare for that, what he said was, I read the Communist Manifest, and he went into that, and then like
Mhm.
you might as well just take a fucking pamphlet that you get from like I don't know, from whatever church or whatever, just a pamphlet, a welcome pamphlet, and say, "Oh, I know everything there is to know about fucking optometry or whatever because I read the, fucking doctor whatever optometry's office pamphlet in regards to contact lenses. I'm an expert about eyes now. I'm gonna go talk about this shit." And the stuff that he talked about was just absolute horseshit. But you got people that were hooked on to his initial fame of like owning the SJWs, that they're like, "Oh yeah, this guy's saying everything that I like to hear." And what they like to hear was just absolute bullshit. So then their entire worldview would be would coalesce around all these people that peddle bullshit, right? And he becomes like a thing. It's like a self-reinforcing thing. He says something stupid, but fucking stupid people like it, and it's all within a veneer of like, oh man, this guy's an intellectual. Look how he says these words and makes these points, and this is great. He's my champion that I'm going to use to own the other people or whatever. Not realizing, or maybe they're not even thinking about it. Like this is all horse. This is all based on horse shit.
When we pick a champion, I think we pick a champion based on people who expresses the views that are similar to ours, whether they're right or wrong. It's irrelevant. So like when we think of Jordan Peterson, another person that I feel like is very polarizing is Ben Shapiro.
Oh, they're all in the same fucking camp. Yeah, you're right. Shapiro is one of those guys as well.
And he has this really quick, snappy way of talking.
Yeah, the
And it
gish
seems like a lot of
gallop.
people really
Yeah, this is
what is it
all
called?
gish galloping.
Gish
Right?
gallop.
Yeah,
I never
you
heard that
talk
term.
really fast. You try to when you're trying to make a point, or you just talk really fast. You just basically just you throw in filler words,
Hmm.
and it's just like like you use it in a defensive measure in an argument where you just keep on throwing like multiple like whatever shit just to make
Hmm.
stuff stick in a debate or to just try to throw. It's just like it's just like a debating fucking tactic. I mean, like
Mhm.
he could shoot off like 100 words in like a couple seconds, but what will happen is like he won't address the point, or he is incapable of like
I feel like
addressing the
there's like a
argument.
Vox video because like I feel like this analyze is very similar to when they analyze Trump's speech compared to like Bernie's speech, and they measure like the length of words Trump uses versus the words that Bernie uses and syllables and
Oh, dude, it's
like
well
how
known. These guys, they all have their own shtick. Peterson's got the "I'm an intellectual." This is why when I
yeah
say stuff is it's profound shtick. Shapiro's
yeah
got the "I'm a master debater," fucking debate lord, nerd ass motherfucker, and
yeah
you know, and I'm famous for that. And you got like fucking people like Crowder, where it's like I'm a comedian, so I'm funny, but I have
yeah.
these fucking
So then so
takes.
then when we look at debates, how does judges judge debates? Like because there's all these different styles.
Well,
Do you
first
give
things first.
points for
Yeah, like if
um
you're in a debating club, you get points for like point making argument, counter argument. It's like a position paper, but in verbal form, basically, right? But aside from that, all of this is useless. It's all show. Debating is might as well be WWE. It's just theater for you. And when
But
people get together, debate
it's a
is
W.
theater.
I thought it's like a rap contest, where they're
Rap
like,
contests are
"Oh,
still theater as well. All of that is theater.
you got and everyone's like,
Yes, people just want to
the
see
rap
their guy
battles.
own the other guy. So
Yeah,
these guys are like vessels, they're champions, for to put their hopes and dreams into this one guy to go and own
yeah.
the other opposite guy, right?
Do you feel like it's easy? But it's easier to judge a rap battle than it is a debate. Like who won a debate?
Well,
I
there's
feel like
different
no
ways.
one usually.
Rap battle
Okay, how
is
do you?
rap battle is
Hmm.
like I don't know, fucking those whoever like fucking says whoever raps. I don't know whoever's just better at it. 106
It's
Park
usually
or
the
some shit.
crowds. The crowds usually whoever the crowd's on, whose side is the one that win. Like the ones that they're cheering on, kind of thing.
I mean, if you're
I
talking
feel like
about,
the crowd kind of dictates the rap battle, but
it's all
does debate.
subjective too, right? Like
It is subjective,
I
yes.
think it's all subjective, but I think like if you got like a pointed debate, like really dry, not like famous fucking stupid YouTube debates, but like the debates you see on college or in the debate club where they'll award you points for your arguments or whatever, your debating
Yeah,
skills. It's still subjective, but it's a little bit more like quantifiable things that they can give you for the points.
yeah.
I mean,
Like,
it's
do you get
all
points for making the other guy sweat? Like, make the other guy stumble over his words because they're like, well, I don't know what the counter to that
I mean,
is.
one of the good things about the debating, the debating discipline will teach you to hopefully focus and make like articulated point about some shit. But
Yeah,
the ultimate thing is basically just to make you. It's just like you said. It's like it's introducing like Morpheus to you or whatever. Like you're supposed to get. You're supposed to.
an understanding.
Well, yeah, you're supposed to. It's supposed to be a dialectic. At its very core, it's supposed to be a dialectic either
But like
with
that
yourself
was
or
the
with
that was the main function. But as you were saying, it's more of a. But
it's
that's not
show.
what
People want to
it's the
watch it
show.
for
Yeah,
show. They don't want to watch it for like. Well, so you have some
they
people that will say like, "Oh yeah, this is great."
like it's not like I'm not watching the state to have a better understanding of Trudeau's platform. I'm just here to see him get snubbed by
Yeah,
my
to get
guy.
owned. Yeah, you want to watch someone get owned. There's some people that may say that, "Hey, I want to watch this. I want to learn about some stuff," but 90% of the people that even say that, they're only comfortable within a certain bounds of what would like they would want to entertain the other opposite view. If it's something that just completely rocks their fucking world, they would probably reject it, just like how the majority of people would do it anyways. So in the end, like for them, for all of these, for like 90% of these people, yeah, actually, you know what? Just almost everybody just watching a debate.
Could we just change debates rather than let's say have two champions from red versus blue kind of thing? Why don't they just say like why don't um like say politicians like Trudeau go to like the conservative like area, have a crowd surrounding him and just ask him questions and just have him
Like a
defend
town
himself.
hall. That's another
Kind of
thing
like a
too.
town hall.
Like
But like I think that would be more interesting because rather than you assign a champion, you're trying to attack this politician's platform, and then by attacking, you kind of learn like, hey, okay, maybe this platform isn't as bad as we think,
The
and
mistake that
blah.
you're making is you're thinking about
Yeah.
what would be like a utility, what would be like some kind of advantageous tool you can use to govern the country better. In the case in the
Well,
case of
my goal was to see, can we change the way of debates in a way that rather than us just watching as a show, can we change the format so that, it creates understanding
yeah,
or
that's what you're
some
trying.
type of
That's
learning.
your
Yeah.
mistake. This isn't even
That's why
supposed. That's your
that people
mistake.
want to
It's
learn.
supposed to be a show. It absolutely serves its function as a show. If you
What
think
what are we selling tickets here?
exactly, if you no, they do sell like tickets like fucking Peterson versus Zizek. That like you sold tickets to go to that show.
That's true. Because
Look,
Bill Nye versus Ken
yeah,
Ham
fucking
was a
people
show
paid
too.
money to be in that crowd, right? Like
Mostly Ken Ham's fan, I think. But
the whole point
anyways,
is it's supposed to be for it's supposed to be the bread and circuses. Like none of this is supposed to actually even do anything. It can't. Like having this broad of a debate, you're not gonna get anywhere. Like if you're ruling a country, this is the last thing you want to do. It's zero effectiveness of anything. Especially
so
if
you
you're
feel like we should not have debates?
no, yeah. You know what? People need the debates just like they need the breads and circuses, right? They need the show, the entertainment. People
Yeah.
need it. What
I
can
guess
they
in
do
some
without it?
ways, maybe if someone who didn't care about politics but saw like a debate between Jordan and whoever you mentioned, that they get into it. I guess that is always a gateway. Like debates is like as a show,
But
they are a good
right
gateway to get you into something, right?
But right off the basis, you're coming okay. Right off the bat, you're coming in on the wrong basis where you're like, "Oh, this is very interesting," and as this debate has opened my mind, how do I, and it has opened my mind to learn more about this stuff. You're going it from you're approaching at it on the first point of entry is already a sham. The first point of entry, it's just entertainment. It's just
I'm a fool.
it's just like some guy watching WWE and it's like, yeah, I want to learn that so I can fight somebody, right? It's you're not.
Yeah.
That's not what it's meant to do. It's meant to entertain you.
Well, I think it's like I said, gateway may not be the thing that teaches you the right proper techniques and stuff, but it is what gets your interest,
Well,
right?
even
I mean, once you get people's interest,
I would
you know,
posit this: if you got interested just from watching shitty Jordan Peterson or even Zizek or stupid like Young Turks debates or whatever the fuck, and you want to get into politics, like that does nothing for anybody. That does nothing for the entire like none of it. All you get in
yeah.
is you just become a debate lord. You want to go own the other guy. At the end, the country's still still going in the toilet because
I
the
feel like
contradictions.
that's a little pessimistic. I feel like there are people that maybe start delving into it and start looking into the deeper problems, and maybe
Well,
they start listening to a
well, and then
Bernie or
what?
a
And,
Yang,
and
and
then what? And then what? What
well,
happens
they
in the end?
be well, at least they be an informed voter,
Yo, even
and
if they
they may volunteer, they may, I don't know. There's endless possibilities. They
Mhm.
might get into politics themselves
Yeah,
and
even if they got
better
into
the world.
politics, and then what? They become a senator, and then what? Even if they became president, and then what?
Yeah,
That's my
I
whole
mean,
point.
he could also, yeah.
That's my whole point. Like, even if you were the president of the United States, you were inspired by watching these debates,
Yeah, I
and
understand
you
you're
worked your way
talking
up
about the
there.
system. It's the system that's controlling us, and that we're in this cycle, and that no single individual can change anything. Yes, I get that.
Yeah,
I get that's where you're going at.
I mean, like if you're talking about like a conscious, like people were gonna are the action that people are gonna take.
Hmm.
I have a very already pessimistic view. It's going to be done in reaction already. Like there's nobody
Yeah,
that's gonna be like, oh, we should do it now, and this is what we got to do, and and it actually has a meaningful mobilization of all the resources to tackle a problem. It's not gonna be
but
like
at
that.
the
It's
same
gonna be something that's
time,
like almost way too late, and it's just because fucking like all of a sudden you get like you'll have to get even more
I mean,
than
that's
people
the same
dying in a
argument
pandemic now.
as climate change. Is the idea of like, I as a single individual, my actions alone won't be able to change anything, right? And that it would take like government and it takes a lot of reform and things like that. But at the same time, it also needs to start from the individual, because if more individuals are about planet first and stuff like that and vote more environmentally conscious, that's how the system change or like what could possibly change, right?
No,
So
no, because you think
because
we're
what is
probably
the
one of the
alternative?
most
Like your alternative is
Only
society
alternative is
eats
obviously,
itself,
yeah. Alternative
right?
is
Yeah.
obviously we just all die. Like there's nothing like why wouldn't that be like that's a
Yeah,
more
but
likely path?
that's with the pessimistic lens. Like if you're an optimist, you
Well,
would
no, this
hope
is
that the conscience of a single individual making the choices for others or better that aren't self-serving, and that hopefully that infects everyone, and then we all kind of start thinking towards that way, thinking towards the future, and are thinking more long term that we can
yeah,
make
because
that
that's
leap.
all bullshit idealist like that's all like bullshit idealist like circle jerking. Why would any of that happen? Like why would like if we were following that, the United States and Britain would have already beaten coronavirus in April of 2020. Why hasn't it? Like because in reality it's not like that at all. Like you can't just look at ideals, you have to take an actual like material analysis of everything, right? And if you look at it that way, like yeah, everything of course is shit.
But
Why
if
would
we go, yeah, I get that. Like, why would anyone do that? But if we all went with that logic, then we would certainly be heading towards doom. That the world is gonna
I'm not
implode.
I'm not asserting a belief here. I'm actually just saying an observation. Like this is
Yeah,
reality. Like this is not like a belief or some kind of like a fucking saying of mine. I'm just saying what's already happened. Like you can observe it. This is what it's
yeah, I agree.
observable, right? Like
Well,
the
I think,
idealist part is not observable, and then you should beg the question: Oh, why is
but
it not turning
well, you
out
can't.
like that?
Well, okay, but there are people, individuals who are spreading the word and are
Of
trying to do
course.
good for the climate. So
Oh, of
there, it
course.
is observable. It is observable. But like yes, both
No,
is
no,
true.
no. Here, that's also part of the observation. We're probably the most climate conscious generation of people on in the world compared to even 10 years ago. Now you don't even have to make
Hmm.
a comparison 100 years ago, and they still can't get the shit together. Most parts of the world still can't get their shit together. Like
Hmm.
there's probably a billion people that are already climate conscious and are very uh willingly trying, like willing to mobilize to do a very active like campaign to fight like climate change and all that shit, and still not doing it like that. So it's like, okay, if you have like millions, hundreds of millions, billions of people that think that way, that are very optimistic, that are willing to change and do these
Hmm.
things. Well, actually, not willing to change. They have the ideals of climate change, right?
Hmm.
Of like doing a lot of like carbon reversal shit, and none of that is happening. Then you have to ask yourself, you're like, oh, why is that? Then does it actually mean that, like does it actually hold true what you said? Like if you have people that are willing to do this, you gotta like at least get the people in the door, and and then eventually we'll come up with something. No, it actually turns out the other way. It's actually like when the chips are down, nobody wants to do it, and especially the people in power, nobody wants to do it. And you're right, like you're as an individual, you can't do much, and as everything as an individual can do, it's still not enough, right? So then that's the way it is. That's what the final analysis comes to. Like, it's out of the power of everybody, of the majority of people that that are actually in favor of making all these changes. These changes won't be made because the power structure doesn't allow changes to be made in that way.
There's always this idea of like, to change people's behavior, we need to change incentives. But like, who's in charge of incentives? You know,
that's all of these things are very like liberal viewpoints, like very
right?
liberalist viewpoints, where it's like, yeah, and literally liberalism is just basically uh idealism with sugar coating on top of it. One of the
Right.
flaws of liberalism
But
is
like okay, fine. Answer as a liberal. Like, what is there? Who's in charge of incentives? How do you?
who's in charge of
Who gets to?
incentives.
Yeah, who gets to say like you should do this because you would be incentivized? Like, who's? Because like if you try to change incentives, like
It doesn't
when
matter. The incentives
isn't there lobbyists that will try
literally the
to
incentives don't
negate that?
literally the incentives don't matter because the whole way of thinking is flawed. They're thinking like, oh, you got to
Mm,
give the people the incentives to change stuff. Well, the people that already are in charge, they have all the incentive not to. Like it doesn't matter. Why would they change anything? Then like literally they have all the incentive not to. Okay,
Yeah.
so liberalism by itself, like one of the ways liberalism could fix itself is literally just to let liberalism die, just to kill it.
So,
That like just to let it die in the cradle and have
but
something
and what
else.
would take over then?
You would
What would
want
take over?
it doesn't matter what will take over it. It could be fascism, which would very likely to happen. But either way, it's gonna like okay, even without my advice, and just say okay, I
Yeah.
want liberalism to live forever. It can't. It's gonna die. It's gonna die because of the conditions around you.
So, so what are you saying? So once liberalism dies, then what? How does this solve things?
Well, why would it have solve anything? You're just observing
Oh,
that it's gonna die.
oh, okay.
But what
Sorry,
you can
we're
observe,
observing it die.
okay, but you can
Hmm.
observe that people there's an innateness in people that they still want to live, right? They still want to eat and live. It's just how they're
Hmm.
gonna do it, right? And the analysis comes
Hmm.
out to be, like I've said many times before, and this is, I give like multitude of reasons. This is approaching it from like a very human nature sort of deal, I guess, and a very still materialist human nature. But it's like, okay, if you were the person, if you were in that group of, if you were a person facing a calamity in the world, right? And liberalism dies, and you're just like, you know what, the individual was bullshit. That actually literally didn't do anything. But you still want to eat, you still want to live, right? You still want the
Hmm.
people you like to live and eat.
Hmm.
Some, some,
You still do, yeah,
yeah,
or
some
some.
options come up for you. It's either you like yourself, you like everyone around you, you like everybody that you looks like you, thinks like you, has the same lifestyle as you, a culture as you. Fucking, we should live, and anybody else is different. Fuck it. Or you can
Hmm.
be like, it's much. We should have all the collective effort, gather the collective effort to deal with these problems. Either way, it's how you want to divvy up the 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 capabilities and resources and the power that comes in through it. And like I said, it does just come down at the death of liberalism does come down to like a fascism or like a socialism. It does come down to those dichotomy of choices, and you can get like a bunch. People will say, "Oh, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that'll come out." Sure, that's true. You can have people that'll just become monks or whatever, but the majority camps will be these two kind of camps because everybody needs to eat and live, and they'll have different ideas about it. And these two camps will have the organizational structure in them to actually become a force that actually can affect some sort of change of the environment, of the setting around them. Whereas if you just give up and you become, like a wandering monk or whatever, that does nothing. It does nothing for human society as a whole, right? It comes
Hmm.
down to these things. So then when I say like if you're coming in and you're thinking politics is about debate and it's
Hmm.
about owning the other guy with fucking logics and facts and arguments and shit, you're coming at it already wrong. You're watching WWE thinking that's teaching you how to fight. It doesn't, right? What
Hmm.
politics in the is literally a struggle. It is. It's all of it. It's at its base is always a struggle, and at the base of it is a struggle. Pretty much controlling the who gets control of the violence, who prevails in this kind of like a struggle, and what the struggle is kind of like a struggle. It is just a struggle between people. Right now, it's everything is like neutered. It's like buying meat at the grocery store, uh, and for after a couple generations, you'll have kids that grow up thinking that don't make the connection that the chicken you buy at the grocery store doesn't actually come like that in nature. It comes from a chicken. You have to kill the chicken and have the meat. Some people actually think it just gets, fucking grown in the earth. The slice of chicken breast, right? That's kind of like what the electoral politics is right now. People don't see the root of what politics is supposed to be. It's a struggle, right? It's a struggle over the
Yeah, you're
material
talking
needs of
about
the earth.
it's a, or another way, it's like a struggle of power or struggle of control.
Struggle. Yeah, it is a struggle to basically marshal the resources and manpower around you. you
But
know.
then,
But they
what
see
about Europe
politics
though?
as debates, as votes, as BS, right? And even if you funnel more and more and more people into that route, literally that can't change because you are basically showing people WWE and telling them to go fight after showing them WWE, right? World wrestling, entertainment. So obviously they can't. And then you wonder why people can't do shit, especially the big OECD nations, right, about climate change. Because for them, political mobilization is literally just votes, debates, and whatever. That's why nobody can do anything. You can get like Bernie Sanders is in power for like majority of his life, and he leans pretty left for an American politician. He literally can't do shit. He can only inspire people, I guess, right? He can only inspire like a group of Americans and shit.
And that wouldn't be enough.
For his entire life, from whatever age he was running, getting elected in office in Vermont, and to now, where
Yeah.
he's close to the Grim Reaper's door at whatever age he is. The one,
Fair enough.
if you look at it objectively, one of the biggest accomplishments he has is just literally getting people to be more open to ideas. That's his entire life. If you
Yeah.
imagine that guy struggled and he is a very consistent man for a politician and a very
Fairly
even
consistent.
moral guy, right? He
Hmm.
did that all through his entire life, and literally, there's a lot of changes on the big national level that couldn't be realized. He could have small wins where he maybe passes some whatever specific law in Vermont or whatever the fuck that maybe did some good to some people's routines, but in the large scheme of things, nothing was accomplished throughout his entire life, aside from getting people to be more, hey, maybe we should have universal healthcare. Like that's the pace of what electoral change kind of looks like, and what
Hmm.
makes this worse and what makes Ben Shapiro and those fucking assholes even worse is they're literally just, if everybody's sinking in quicksand, and some people manage to try to get to the shores and pull themselves into quicksand, these guys are the ones that drag you back into quicksand. So if you're talking about the electoral politics, if you're talking about liberalism, if you're talking about free market capitalism, their biggest thing, right? They're just use their polemic styles, their debate styles, to basically just have a whole bunch of people just shut off their brains and just continue to get into this fucking quicksand and to fucking pull people back, even if they get a little whiff of, hey, something's not right, and I can tell that something's not right and nothing's getting done. Maybe I'll pull myself out. Nope, you're gonna come back in because I debate really good, and people like my style or whatever the fuck of the bullshit that I peddle. That's what they kind of do too. They muddle the water. So instead of talking about like what needs to happen, or not even talking about, instead of people doing stuff like what needs to be done for this, they drag you back to, no, let's fucking debate about this and let's make a show out of it, and nothing will
They're
get done.
talking about like pronouns.
Yeah, yeah, like literally. And you know what? This culture war bullshit is not their doing, but they profit off. Like that's their bread and butter. So they'll talk about like critical race theory, pronouns and shit, SJW, like literally stuff that doesn't matter, right? This is just the shitty stuff for show. But like the other side, the liberal side, likes to
Yeah.
talk about. That's the only thing they can talk about too. They can only talk about, hey, like, those border patrol guys on horses that had really looked
RCMPs.
bad. No, in the South where they were in the American South where they were like turning back Haitian refugees. They're like, you know what? It looked really bad that they were on horses chasing them away. So what the changes we did was we took away the horses, right? That's the liberal solution.
And
It's
we
just
gave them RVs
it's
or oh sorry, what's
it's
that?
just
I don't
it's
know.
just complete horseshit on the other side. But they love to get into the quicksand together to just fucking wrestle about,
Yeah.
like them, and like the conservatives of America, like the right wingers, and the American. They call it the left, but it's really just a lighter right wing, right? And that's kind of like that's the deal with it. Like this is just cultural war bullshit. Jordan Peterson got famous over culture war bullshit. He continues to just mire everything in like that kind of aesthetic bullshit. And ironically, all of them are actually very, very resistant and very hostile to some of the options for a systemic change. Where if you say like, "Hey, capitalism is going to die," we should probably come up with something better in its dead body. Once its corpse falls to the ground, we should probably come up with something new. They're like, no, this is the greatest, and this is why, and I'll give you a bullshit reason why it is. And they'll do it with like really shitty, like really shitty, non-history, no fucking any kind of grounding in like political economy or anything to make sense of any of that. It's just their own verbal, like storytelling, and like if you are thinking it's already hard enough to get people to fucking do something, it'll be even harder when they come in and muddle the waters and be like, no, let's not talk about that stuff. Let's talk about why, I don't know, Black Lives Matter is bad or something, or good, bad or good. Let's have that debate.
Mhm.
And like what
I think your voice is giving out.
it is. I haven't talked in so long. I mean, like I always say this all the time when I say like this is, I observe this bullshit around people, like all the time now. Like a lot of people, especially in the countries we live in, all the time.
Mhm.
This because we're stuck in there now. Like I feel like subconsciously people just don't want, like, this is what they like. Just like you said, in a way, a lot of them are not willing to admit that they are crazy and it's all going to shit, and it scares them. And this kind of stuff makes them happy. This kind of stuff that they can like debate about
Ah,
worthless
you could
things.
always give them the out that they just need that external. They just don't have that Morpheus to show them
They're worse.
another
They're
way.
worse than Neo can ever be, because for them, if they were Neo, Morpheus shows up, they'd probably just shoot him on the spot. They'd be
Yeah,
like, "You
they are
liberal
the
fuck,"
Agent
and then,
Smith.
they'll be like, "You liberal fuck, shoot him on the spot," and then
They become the Smiths.
the liberals would be like, "I don't listen to fucking communists, shoot him," and then right on the spot, right?
Well, I think, yeah. No, I think I agree with you that the world does look a bit pessimistic. I think we're seeing a lot of power outages recently. Like if you look in the story, Lebanon has lost electricity for a bit,
Mm,
right? China's been cutting back on electricity, and people were trapped in elevators and stuff.
yeah,
So I wonder if it's like that would suck. Like if you were trapped on an elevator and you really needed to go.
yeah.
And
Like the if you were unlucky to be in an elevator when your city or whoever, or your township cut the electricity, yes, that would be the balls. Whoever
yeah.
and whoever is in charge of these areas, they're going to get fucked on their next review, because literally, like, for China, they're the whole reason they're doing this is kind of like it's a little bit of a it's a little bit of a fight between the central government and the provincial governments, where the central government was like, we've been giving, like, we already laid down the roadmap for all of these years already, that you're gonna cut the emissions. You're gonna be like, these are the
Oh,
emission
I see.
targets. You're not gonna go over them. And then some places were like, oh fuck, but like we meant like we came out of the recovery of COVID and we had to keep our factories running, and we burned pretty much the entire quota of
Yeah.
like of electricity.
They're like, well, I'm sure you'll find a solution if we
Yeah.
just cut you off, kind
Basically,
of
the
thing.
central
Yeah.
party said to the provincial branches, tough shit. Like, you're gonna cut. You're ordered to cut it off. And then if you handle it well, if you did what you were supposed to do to gradually cut down and not
You wouldn't be in
fucking
this
waste that,
position.
you wouldn't be cutting off power. Yeah, you wouldn't be cutting off power right in the middle where people are going about their day. So then
Yeah.
whoever's in charge of these areas, they're fucked. I'll
That's
tell
an
you what.
interesting thing.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Like, it's not technically, it's not a shortage, because the majority of coal is actually produced domestically in China itself. And what China did was, the first cuts in the the 13th plan was like, there's going to be no new coal production, like no new coal uh, add additional production capability. So it's basically if you have your coal mines now, these are the ones that will exist in the entire country. You're not going to open a new coal mine anymore, right?
Mm.
So the productive capacity domestically is already cut, and then they said, okay, well, you can still make up some in imports. So the majority they were importing from was actually Indonesia, right? And I know the news likes to do like this thing where it's because Australia cut it off. The Australia imports are not that much. The Indonesian imports are actually even a lot of coal are actually more substantial, right? But this thing is their own doing of their own sort of it is a power struggle sort of deal, and it is it is done in a way where if you're unlucky that you're in these cities that they just didn't fucking think it was too big of a deal to keep burning more, and you gotta get like power outages, then sucks to be you, sucks to suck. I remember as a kid, they would get power outages and water outages periodically too, just to for saving on usage or something like that, or if
Mhm.
added maintenance. So I do remember, like people have this. It's not something new. People will have the notice, and they usually you're supposed to like fill up the bathtub if there's going to be a water shortage for the afternoon or whatever, right? But
Mhm.
just recently, there hasn't been these shortages until now when it's like a government mandated like shortage, like you're going to cut the
Yeah,
power.
and people are caught their pants down,
Yeah,
kind of thing.
but the rest of the world, like that's the rest of the world is a little bit of entire matter altogether because I don't think in Lebanon they're doing it to cut, to try to meet emission targets. I think it is that they weren't able to source coal or something, or I don't know, like their infrastructure is just like their electrical infrastructure just isn't keeping up well with the pandemic at the same time, you know.
Yeah, it's insane.
Like Britain, they're having and America too, they're having shortages in grocery stores. So back then they would laugh at. You remember they came out of Seth Rogen came out of a movie uh when it was like they went to North Korea to do the interview. It was the interview that was what it was called,
It's the interview.
right? And then
Yes.
they had that one scene where they're like showing people like they go walk into a North Korean supermarket, and it's just like it looks from the outside is like oh there's lots of food, but you go inside and it's actually just like it's a drawing of food in the aisles. And they literally had
Yeah.
that at some grocery stores in the United States. Like they didn't have stock, and there are shelves that were just empty. So what I forget which grocery chain it was. They did exactly that, and they just put like a picture of like canned meats or whatever in that entire aisle,
Damn.
just to make it look aesthetically like it's looking normal.
Say.
But
Well, anyways, we should wrap it up with lighter news, I think.
lighter news.
Or
What kind of
lighter
light news
news.
do you want?
Well, you told me we both watched this movie, Ice Roads, which is a trucker from North Dakota working for Manitoba, and they're driving on the Canadian lakes to deliver piping
Oh, the
or
Liam
something
Neeson movie.
to the diamond mine. And
Oh man.
they had flipped over a truck, and then they winched it back up. And you said that's not real.
Yeah, you can't do that shit. Plus, once you flip over a truck, that truck is basically gone. And like there's a lot of shit that gets fucked up once if a truck flips over. So you're not gonna like flip it over with another flipped over truck simultaneously and then keep on driving.
Well, okay, because I thought that was yeah. Because when I saw that in the movie, I thought, oh, that's awesome. These guys are so resourceful. They could
Yeah,
just flip
no.
themselves back over.
Like once you flip that truck back over, you gotta tow it away to get it fixed. You're not gonna be able to drive that shit again.
Yeah. So, what did you think of the movie? So it
It's
was
one of those
over the
things where
top then.
it's one of those things where it's like it's such a bad movie, but it's so bad that it's fun. And Liam Neeson is a fun guy to watch, no matter
Yeah.
what role he's in. Always just acts like Liam Neeson.
There was one I really liked was Cold Pursuit with Liam Neeson. Have you seen that
I
one?
think so. You just have to refresh my memory what goes on in there because
I think he was like in
all of his
like
films melt into one for me.
I think he was in like Alaska or some weird Colorado city, and it was like a comedy movie. Well, he is a snowplow driver.
Yes, yes, I remember that. Yeah, that was
And
awesome movie too.
he was trying to find his son because
It's,
he got murdered,
yeah, his son
and
got
he's
murdered,
going.
and then and then all of a sudden, as a snowplow driver, he just gets in the middle of it and just wrecks. It just
Yeah,
destroys these two rival gangs.
but I thought what the cool thing with that movie is they took the concept that you're expected to watch this movie thinking it's like a wanted movie, this revenge story, and it turns out not to be that movie because it turns out to be a comedy or a dark comedy, right? Because at some point in the movie, halfway through, they totally forgot about Liam Neeson and started focusing on the gangsters and stuff, and then the rival of the Indonesian people and stuff like that. So I thought the movie was pretty funny because they even have like funny jokes where there were like the Indonesian people that were working and
They're
stuff,
not
and then
Indonesian. They're like fucking.
or that
They're like
Indian?
the
Oh,
natives.
native.
Yeah,
Sorry,
native Indians.
native, native Indians. You're right. Sorry, not Indian. Yeah, native Indians. The joke was like the guy was like, "Oh, can you do this?" And he's like, "Why don't you ask the Indian?" And it's pointing to like Indian.
Yeah,
I thought that was hilarious.
I
But
feel
yeah,
like
over.
I feel like we're living in the golden era of Liam Neeson movies. Like, I think every so often you get a character such as Liam Neeson acting in movies where he just does all this shit, and he's just like the same guy in all these different movies.
He's about the same.
And
Yeah,
I don't think people will appreciate this until he's gone, and then they will like reminisce about the
when
great
people are
times.
like thinking of the classics, like The Wanted, The
Yeah,
Grave, I
and
don't
then
know, the train one, the plane one, the,
this is
the
already
snowplow
great.
one.
This is already great. He is literally him in every role. He just doesn't give a fuck. I like how he just takes on these jobs. Like he gets the script, he's like, "Yep, I'll do this one."
That
Snowplow
sounds like
driver,
me.
done. I'll just be the exact same. He doesn't even have to change anything.
Yeah. Like when I looked at Ice Road, I'm like, wow, this totally reminds us of Cold Pursuit and the snowplow driver one.
I mean,
A little bit different.
the only time he looked different is earlier on in his career when he was like Qui-Gon Jinn in Star Wars Episode
Oh,
One, and then he was fucking was he Zeus or someone in the
yes, Clash of Titans.
Clash of Titans, and he looks. That's the only time you can ever see him that
I
looks
don't know
that
if he
different.
looks that different.
He just
He's
has
still
longer
kind
hair. He just has longer hair, and he wears like longer clothing. That's it.
yeah, I guess you could say that. Like he's done a lot because he was a Jedi, he was a lion, he was Zeus, like you said. He trained Batman.
He can be everything. He is.
He's very versatile, certainly. I think he's yeah. It would be sad to see him go when he does retire from acting. He's a legend. He's like in a way like Bruce Willis or not Bruce Willis. Who's that guy? Who's the one who like talks about bees in that movie?
Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage, but like the movies are like entertaining. Whereas Nicolas
He's
Cage,
good. Yeah, he's good. Like Nicolas Cage, I feel like is just like it's just a little bit away from a mental breakdown, and then the movies where he does has to when he does have to act out like him having a mental breakdown or whatever, those are usually the best movies. Liam Neeson,
usually,
he
yeah,
doesn't have to do anything. He just show up.
yeah.
It's already like you already know what's going on. You already know like what everything's about. You don't even need a primer on his character. He's like you don't
Have you
need any
seen
backstory.
Have you seen all his library? Have you seen the train one, the plane one?
The plane one, the train. Yeah, I've seen most of them. I've seen the most serious one I remember him doing was he was a detective. I think it was like what was the movie name? Something about like walk around among the tombstones or something. He was trying to catch a serial killer that only killed the wives and girlfriends of like gangsters or some shit like that. But he was still
Oh,
Liam Neeson by himself. He was just like drunk Irishman jaded cop. Just Liam Neeson, right? As a drunk
ah,
jaded Liam Neeson just going about it.
yeah.
There's just no action, not too much action in it. And it was just mostly just like a broody film.
Yeah.
But
Oh, he is getting old.
that was he's done more action in his like recent ones. I feel than like with the exception of Wanted. I think he's done more action in the recent ones as a snowplow driver and fucking a trucker.
I
An
did
ice
like the
road
snowplow
trucker.
driver when he killed the first guy, like he strangled him to death.
Yeah, that was
And
the
like he
best.
Like he strangled him, and he's like, oh, takes the breather, and the guy like starts coughing,
Like
and he's like, ah, shit, he's not dead. He strangles him
the
to
next
like pay
movie I
him.
want to watch him, I want to watch him be like an ice cream man, that drives an ice
As an
cream
ice
truck,
cream driver
and then
truck.
start killing people like that have like wronged him. You know, like I want to. I think it would be a lot of fun if you just cast him in roles where you'd be like, how, what sounds the most ridiculous, and I want him in that role. You know,
Mm.
have him as like the moderator of like a debate club, and have him kill like everybody in the debate. Have him be just a sanitation worker and just have him kill a bunch of people. Have him be like a barista and then just start killing a bunch of people. That is peak Neeson.
Yeah. Well, and another legend, Daniel Craig. He's done being James Bond. His
Yeah.
last movie
What's your
came up.
opinion? Because everybody seems to have a fucking problem with James Bond either being black or a woman or a black woman.
Oh, I haven't seen the last one. Was that a
It doesn't
spoiler?
matter. What's your opinion on that?
I think it makes sense because 007 is a code name and anyone's supposed to wear the mantle. It's kind of like Doctor Who,
You know who
like
has like the biggest problems with either a black James Bond, a woman James Bond, or a black woman James Bond?
a Republican. I don't know.
Yeah, the Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, Stephen Crowder crowd. They went ape shit over this kind of shit.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I don't know why. It seems so pointless to be upset about that.
No, they'll tell you the reasons. They're shitty, stupid, fucking nonsensical, egotistical reasons.
Mm,
I don't give a fuck either. Like,
I think it would add more creativity. Like the design space of him being a white male British is so limited. I think you have a lot more story to tell if he was
the
someone
argument is
else.
like he has to be a white male British. That's how he's written as. So they just it's
I feel
it's
like
it's
that's
thinly veiled. Actually, that's not what they really mean to say. What they really mean to say is actually it cannot be a black guy or a woman or a black woman. That's what they mean to say. They don't give a fuck if it was like, they don't give a fuck about most things. As long as like a white male of some sort, they're fine. It's
I
all
think it would
dog
be
whistling shit.
yeah. I do think it would be cool if yeah, if Stringer Bell, Idris Elba was the next James Bond. That was like rumors, right? So but yeah, we'll see who takes the mantle after Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, why is it a big deal that they changed the guy? Like they already changed. It's already established that James Bond is a fucking different. You got different actors for him, right?
Yeah,
Q
exactly.
Q is already different people, and it's already acknowledged. It's like in the lore. It's in the canon of that James Bond universe.
Yeah,
Q is not like one specific person. It's a position, right?
exactly. Exactly. It's the symbol, like how Batman has always envisioned it, that anyone could take up the mantle, that you know, that anyone can be Batman. It wasn't just supposed to be for Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. The thing, like, the thing that won't make sense is like if you're gonna shoot like a historical film, like an accurate historical film about stuff, and, like if you're gonna show the fucking like the Shogun of Japan as like a freaking like white Norwegian guy, it won't make sense, right? Then you'd be like, yeah, you can't go crazy about this shit. But if you're doing like
Mm.
fiction stuff, especially fantasy stuff, like whatever, just whatever.
Yeah, usually aliens, like when you think of sci-fi, they have all sorts of colors, right?
Yeah, there's no
It's,
there's there's no racism among the aliens.
exactly. Like in Star Trek, I'm thinking like John Sulu, he's Korean, like everyone, like not everyone is white.
The woke Star Trek. This is all so stupid. Like it's even like just because all this stuff is going around in the background, like it fucking seeps into my brain folds. This stupid, shitty culture BS debate that these guys want to argue about. It seeps into my brain too.
You get dragged into it.
Yeah, it takes up a little small amount of real estate in my brain. Be like, that's funny. This is fucking stupid, but it's funny. I don't
But
know.
yeah. Mhm.
if you ever want to get me riled up on to talk about this stuff, I will take 2 hours, no problem. Just like today. Basically,
I can tell.
um, but what was I gonna say? I had some. I actually fucking having a brain fart right now because I was like, oh, I really want to talk about this today. I really should write this shit down. I really should.
You probably save it for tomorrow. The next one.
Yeah,
Probably the next one.
I will probably save it when more of the people come back.
Yeah? You think they won't call Mutiny after they hear about this one? They'll be like, two-person podcast. What is this?
Yeah, that would mean they would have to listen to this, and I know for a fact that they don't listen to this. No one in their right minds should listen to this.
I listen to the one I'm not in. I'm just saying.
I'll tell you what though,
I
am excited to let my brain become mush and allowing the entertainment options that are coming up to come in. We got there's a lot of shows that I'm actually looking forward to coming out, and they got the fight.
Wheel Time,
the F-18 and Flight Simulator coming out too. I will be very pleasantly distracted for the next come November.
Oh, there's Microsoft.
Yeah, they're coming out with a F-18 to concurrently with the Top Gun movie that's coming out as well.
Oh, is that with Tom Cruise?
Tom Cruise, yeah.
Wow, surprised.
Reprising his
still
role,
in it,
yeah, after like 30 years.
Damn, that guy never quits.
He is the one person that has benefited from Scientology.
Yeah, I think. Well, probably financially for sure. Damn.
Oh fuck! Squid Game. I was gonna say something about Squid Game. Did you watch?
Oh yes. Well, the debate I was having was, do you think Halloween people are gonna dress up as the Squid Game characters or more Among Us, or the Among Us characters?
I don't know. They're gonna do both of them. There's not gonna be a one choice. You'll get people.
Usually, there's always a winner. Like last, maybe I don't know which Halloween, but it was Harley Quinn from Suicide Squad, right? There's always a winner, like or like Joker, something like that.
This is what you want to talk about, just the Halloween costumes.
Okay, well, I did not watch Squid Game. I watched the
Okay.
recap of Squid Game
Oh, I see.
and an overview of Squid Game.
So you watched it Brian style.
I didn't seem to have interest, I guess.
Yeah.
The twist was okay, I guess. Yeah.
The one thing that was
Well, like what's so intriguing about it? I feel like this story's been told before.
That was the thing that's surprising me too, because me and my wife, we watch a lot of Korean dramas, right? And most of them is most of these people, most of the white people never heard of them, right?
Sure.
And I was actually surprised why this one would shoot to the top. And I don't
And
know
it's
why.
weird too, because like even kids watch it, because like you heard that Roblox has Squid Games. Well, actually, they're just children games. But I'm like, my friend who's a parent, and he's like, "Oh, I don't want my kids to play red light, green light." It's so weird that they're getting shot at in Roblox, right? But yeah, it's just I don't know what's so interesting about it.
I honestly wouldn't be able to put my finger on it either, because I don't feel like it's just as fucking, like as reductionist as just saying, oh, they just have good production values or whatever, right? Like, I don't think I'll be like fuck, and other shows don't, right? So
Like, I feel like the movie Parasite should get the same more recognition than Squid Game, because I thought that was
you know what? Actually, the one thing that I can pinpoint in Squid Game that is shares the same thing with Parasite is both of them. The Parasite movie.
oh, did they call it the class?
Yes, it's class. It's literally Squid Game was just one.
They were very on the nose on it.
Yes, it was a very on the nose, literally a blatant critique of capitalism, and like people, even if you were like just a fucking casual bystander or whoever that doesn't care about this, you can see it and be like, oh shit, that's true. Like that's what most of the people got from it too, and that's what they were even blatantly showing. There's some people that will cope and be like, no, it's not about that at all, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's the reason that it got popular. Maybe in a subconscious level to some people they can see that, and just because, I don't know, maybe they can see some relations too. Maybe they'll be like,
I like the twist the twist didn't seem like they were that super revealing that you feel like, oh my God, that twist was amazing. Like the twist seems okay.
No, everything was predictable to a degree, right? Like, yeah, they didn't
Yeah.
try hard to hide anything, because I feel like the guy was basically just showing it as the way it is. Like, look how brutal this is. Like
Yeah.
look at
Is
how.
it the characters? Maybe people really love the characters, like the Indian guy. Or
I don't know, man, because I don't know. Like, what baffles me is this, because I can say, oh, there's a character wise, it's not really a show known for like good like characters, as like
Mhm.
is Koreans. They're actually pretty good at writing character stories, like slice of life stories and character driven stories. They're actually really good at it. Like, I feel like Hollywood has gotten really shit at this, or they may have never been good at it, but the Koreans are really good
Yeah.
at this. And a
Mhm.
lot of character stories are written and probably better than Squid Game. Like Reply
Mhm.
1988, Prison Break, which actually stars the same guy, the investment banker guy. Like, those are really
I
good
was, I
character
was,
shows.
I was
So I
thinking of
would
the
say,
American Prison Break. Okay,
so I would have
but
said like I would have said it can't be characters, because this is not even the best character driven show. But I don't know, maybe a
that's
bunch of
true.
Americans don't know about these other shows or whatever, right? But I mean,
Mhm.
like, something drew people to fucking turn on Netflix and watch this show, and it
I
like
feel like
popped off.
it's. I feel like people like it because it's just a cool thing to like Gundam style. I don't know. Like
Maybe,
why did Gundam style
but
became
remember,
so?
like, most of this was like it's probably spread through. A bit of it was word of mouth as well, right? Like, it doesn't
Mhm.
just shoot up to the top by itself just by rankings. I mean, people saw it and they're like, "Oh, this is actually really good. You should watch this or whatever," right?
I feel like it's like you turn on Netflix, you see the previous Squid Game, you're like, oh, I'll watch something else, and then someone says, "Hey, did you see Squid Game?" And you're like, "Oh, I heard the name before," and it's like, "Oh, you should watch it." And then I feel like that's what got people into it.
Maybe
And
a
then
bit of it, right? But I don't know. I think maybe all of it is a bit of everything altogether. But
yeah,
uh, I think it's just the way that it was also critiquing society by showing, like, you're just showing it on the nose and be like, here are literally fighting each other to the death for money,
yeah.
and then we're making a show about it, and this is like, and like this is life, this is your life, but
Do
we're
you like?
showing it in a way where, like, this is
Yeah,
what it is distilled down. We're showing you people fighting to the death for money, just
I
like you
guess
are
that's.
doing in your own life, just not so obviously.
Do you like shows that captures your attention or requires your attention?
Captures it,
Uh,
obviously captures it. Requires my attention. What's the fuck it? Like,
well, like, because that's what's the argument I hear for The Wire. It's a show that doesn't capture your attention, but requires it. Because The Wire, when you watch it, because I recommend it to a lot of my friends,
yeah,
and a lot of some of my friends who watched it did not like it because it didn't capture their attention. They thought it was super boring. Right? Because for a cop and gangster show, a lot of the gun scenes and stuff, you always come at the aftermath. That like the police are just like writing notes and handcuffing people. You don't actually see the fights, right? You're always at the end. And I feel like in The Wire, they don't really nothing's on the nose. Everything is kind of subtly told to you, and
yeah.
that you have to kind of pay attention to understand the messages that comes from the show,
You
right?
may just be telling people to watch The Wire that would never like that style of show, anyways. Like,
Yeah.
it's like you gotta like something like that, where it's like
Well, I
a
feel like
well
if you
written,
give your
character driven
attention,
show.
it's a show that if you give your attention, it really rewards you for it because it treats you like a smart viewer. Like they don't tell you anything blatantly. Like everything comes from just watching the show or how characterization, all that stuff, right? And I feel like when you give your attention, it really rewards you. Whereas like the ones that captures your attention, I feel like they're not rewarding. Like they are entertaining. I agree. They get you to watch it, but sometimes when you watch it, I sometimes feel empty. Like
Oh
you're
yeah, I
watching it,
know what you're
like
talking. It's like, I wouldn't characterize it too much as capture the attention, and attention requires the attention. There's just
yeah,
some shows will be flashy and shit, like most CW shows, right? And
Yeah,
FX
CW,
shows,
certainly.
like it's either fucking like hot female leads, lots of action, fucking suspense and thriller and action and all like just fucking
Yeah.
thrown into one wet sloppy bowl of shit. And then these ones are more like, yeah, they're less flashy. This is less flashy shows, but it's much more like has a lot more depth to it. It has a lot more like character and better writing, and like you almost you don't really need even a story to drive it. The characters themselves would be the story, you know, like
Yeah.
that would that the Wire is like, I think it's just by taste, like if you get someone that loves to watch like fucking CW shows or whatever, FX, a lot of like to give it to me now, like give me all the action, just shoot it into my eyes right now. Like they're not gonna
Yeah.
like The Wire. They're not gonna like those Korean shows I just mentioned, like Reply 1988.
Yeah.
Right? They're not gonna like those.
But they might like Squid Game because I feel like that's a show that captures your attention in that sense. They just kind of give it to you.
They
Like,
do. I guess yeah, in the way it does because like yeah, people fucking die in that.
yeah, they just murder people in
Yeah,
cold blood, and you're like,
murder
oh my
people.
God, that's shocking.
And it turns out that like fucking it has a lot of staying power because it's not just shock and awe. Like beneath the
Mhm.
shock and awe is literally a brutal critique of society and one that actually stays with a lot of people.
But I do heard the criticism that they kind of wish the scene with like the rich people just betting on people, they kind of wish it was more subtle because it when you just when it's too on the nose, it just seems
I think it was
cheap and
I think it was actually done just the way it is. It's supposed to be like it was supposed to be in your face. Like it is in your
yeah.
face. Everything
Okay.
we watch right now is already in your face. When Jeff Bezos spends like $12 billion or whatever to get launched into space, yeah, like it's
That's true.
already in your face. Like if anything, these guys are not even
I feel
as
like there are
obvious as the real life multi-billionaires that we already
well,
have.
like the movie I was talking about, Parasite, which won Best Picture in uh just before COVID, right?
Yeah.
I felt like that one was not in your face. Like I felt like because that was the same director as Snowpiercer, Bong Joon-ho, who always talks about um class issues and stuff. And I felt like Parasite was one of his movies where was not very on the nose. Like it was obviously about class, but it wasn't trying to point out to you
Well, he finessed
like
it in a much you
he
can't
finessed it in
like
a
you
way.
can't
Yeah.
finesse Squid Game because Squid Game was meant to be like that guy wanted to show you the brutality of everything, right?
He
His whole
did,
deal was like
yes.
I'm not if you finesse it, it loses it's the entire like meaning. Like it's supposed to be not finesse. And Parasite in a way like that guy likes to finesse it in there, right?
Well, for that movie, he finessed it. In other movies, it was very on the nose. Like Snowpiercer was very
Yeah,
on the
literally at the
nose.
back of the train.
Yeah, exactly. Don't wear your shoe on your head.
But like
Shoe.
like this was, well, I mean, like this was not that like subtle either. Like they're literally just living at the in subterranean basement and literally living as
They were living in it, but it wasn't like. But they were.
clearly
But they treated it
servants.
like normal. They felt like it was normal. Like it wasn't. Like when you
Oh, I
watch it, it
see.
wasn't.
It's not
It
like
wasn't like blatant
the
like
family.
Snowpiercer.
Yeah,
It wasn't like the shoe belongs on the foot, not on your head, kind of thing. Like it wasn't so obvious, right?
yeah,
Um. But anyways, I guess in the end, did you like Squid Game?
yeah. I liked it. It was pretty good. I
Huh?
I,
Okay.
I like well because like, I liked it for the reason that it was such. I
Oh,
liked it.
the capitalist. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's showing how it is. It's like that's literally like sometimes you need to show people like they're just gonna keep on doing it because it's just more obvious. Like I have a feeling if
Yeah.
Squid Game was shown in like 1950s or 1960s or something, or even in the 80s, if
No,
Squid Game
it
was
would
shown in
lose
the
meaning.
80s, it would just be like a boutique movie. Like it'll just be like, oh, do you see that movie where people just die for a
I
game?
mean, they've already done that. There was the game, wasn't it, where a rich guy pays someone to be hunted?
Exactly. But, like just because it was also a product of his time, that's all it
Yeah.
just was. And I feel like if Squid Game was made during that time, especially in the 80s and 90s, it would be like
Yeah.
that too. It would be like it would first and foremost be just this crazy fucking movie where people die in a game, and you'd be like, oh yeah, that's just crazy. That's all you're gonna get from it, right?
How about the games themselves? Have you played the one where you have the paper thingy and you lap it on the ground to flip it like a pog,
No,
and
I
if you
have never.
miss,
These are all like a
you
lot
get
of
slapped?
Korean games. There's a lot of Korean centric games. Aside from red light, green light, most of these are all like very Korean centric games.
And
Um,
tug of war, I
yeah,
guess.
and tug of war. But like I said, it's the times, right? Like this movie resonates a lot more
Yeah,
because of the times we're in right now. You know,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I feel if I was gonna say if I was gonna try to answer the question like why did this get so popular, that would
yeah.
probably be my answer. Like because it resonates with the times that in that way. It's a brutal critique of our society right at the right
I do
moment.
think I do think Parasite kind of won because of the times as well, because
Yes,
it wasn't that long ago,
yes,
and so the
I
whole
agree
class.
100%. Parasite at the same time it was that good. It got elevated because of the times during
Yeah,
which it was made, right?
yeah.
I feel like I am not like a film study sort of guy, but I can easily see in the future, 50 years from now, whatever, post 100 years, 200 years post collapse of America, somewhere in like whatever country, they're looking at this and they'll be like,
Yeah.
this was can anybody write? Can anybody tell me their thoughts on whatever on this movie? I bet you some film fucking bourgeois film buff or whatever critic could be like, yeah, it's a critique of the times because at that time capitalism was rampant. And it'd be like, oh, it's
Hmm.
something that I don't recognize in our current society anymore.
Really? You think it will be that quick?
My
200 years?
my
Things will be different?
That's the optimistic part of me that says that.
That's yeah, because I felt like you would think the world would end by then. Like we're just gonna eat each other up.
I'll tell you what. The one thing, it's because of the climate that throws all of this in the mix. The reason why, the one thing that would probably end everything would be the climate. I feel like that's the one thing that none of these like established power centers of power can get their shit together to fucking deal with is the climate. Especially, I'm
Yeah, I don't
literally
think so.
especially America and the Western world.
I
Ironically,
mean,
the
when we experienced the heat dome, I was like, shit, things are things are done.
you know
Like that heat dome was ridiculous.
yeah, like like that's the reason I would say, oh, it's more likely than not that we're heading toward doom rather than anything. If we didn't have to deal with like a climate, I would say eventually just the just through the process of all of massive societal change, I feel like you're gonna come out with like, and this is my own personal opinion. I feel like a more collective, a more socialist world order would come out of it. And
Mhm.
I have a lot of reasons to do so. I don't know if I'll get into it now, but like just from what I said earlier, like once like this stupid like liberalist fucking notion dies, dies because of cold reality. The two camps that I imagine emerging, the two diametrically opposite camps of socialist and fascist camps, I feel like the socialist one will win in the end, eventually, because the material advantages are aligned with that one, right? You're gonna get a lot more people that want to kind of like cooperate, than you would exterminate, right? And I feel like you will have the material advantage and the manpower advantage to win something like that, barring nuclear fucking attack. So aside from nukes and climate change, I feel I would be optimistic about the future. Actually, climate change, because nobody's gonna nuke each other in the modern world. Climate change is gonna be the one that
That's
nobody
the
would deal
ultimate
with.
nuke. Yeah.
More powerful than any nuke, but at the same time, just more baffling than any nuke can be.
Well, that's a good note to end it as we segue off.
Yeah, fuck our comeback episode.
The mutiny.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you for listening, Jason, Hassan. You're welcome to be back. We need you.
There's these 2 months that we didn't do anything. I think there are still some downloads of our most of our episodes. I go by the metric I go by is who has downloaded the most recent episode, right?
I think they're bots, man.
No, if it was bots, usually it's like it's all, you know what I mean, like even the old episodes.
Oh, like all of them, not just like one
Yeah,
episode
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
So from what I can parse out, the ones that look normal would be about six or something people that downloaded
Nice.
this month.
Alrighty. Well,
So
thank you for listening.
for these six people. All right. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
See you.